My name is Ethan Hayes. I'm a programmer, your basic garden variety coder. My life is an endless conversation with lines of code. As predictable as the standard for loops, I write every day. Go to work, type code, order takeout, go home, work overtime sometimes, play video games, sleep, rinse, and repeat day in day out until that Thursday afternoon just before quitting time on my phone screen lit up. It was a text from Chloe Davis. Chloe, a designer in my department, is just lovely. Not in a flashy, knock your socks off way, but in a way that grew on you, that settled you like the first crisp day of fall. Fresh and with a quiet strength. She had a great personality, too. Always laughing. Hers was the clearest laugh in the whole office, like wind chimes. We worked together a lot, so we were on good terms, but only in that strictly colleague kind of way. We'd occasionally go in on a boba order together or crack a harmless joke during a project meeting. That was it. Her text read, "Ethan, any plans tonight? If not, I'm buying you tacos." I stared at the screen, my fingers hovering over the keyboard, the code in my brain instantly scrambling into a tangled mess. What was this? A female colleague asking me out to tacos. This wasn't in the script. Based on my limited 20-some years of life experience and the countless memes I'd seen online, this situation felt unusual. The little guys in my head started arguing. Angel Ethan excitedly said, "Go. You have to go. The tacos are irrelevant. It's who you're eating them with. It's cuffing season, my dude." Devil Ethan cautiously replied, "Hold up. No one is ever nice for no reason. Think about your wallet, your kidneys." I shook my head, temporarily muting them both, and typed a reply. Did hell freeze over? The great Chloe Davis is treating. Got to keep the tone light. Can't look like I've never been asked out before. Chloe's reply was instant. "Hey, can't a girl just be in a good mood? So, are you gracing me with your presence or not?" It was followed by a gif of a cat shrugging. Grace, I shall never look a gif horse in the mouth. My fingers were faster than my brain. Was that a little too much? Okay, I'll wait for you by the entrance. I know a place that's killer. She sent back a thumbs up emoji. Well, that sealed it. I put down my phone and felt my heart pick up its tempo. I stared at the code on my monitor, but I couldn't process a single character. The second the clock hit 5, I shut down my computer and grabbed my backpack in a fluid motion as if I'd rehearsed it 1,000 times. My coworker Dave sidled over. "Whoa, Ethan, what's the rush?" "Got a hot date." "A date with what?" "With tacos," I said, trying to sound casual. Nobody moves that fast for a solo taco run. "Who are you kidding?" Dave gave me a sleazy grin that said, "I know everything." I ignored him and bolted. Chloe was already waiting by the entrance. She changed out of the slightly formal dress she wore at work and was in a loose-fitting strawberry print sweatshirt, jeans, and canvas sneakers. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she looked more relaxed, more real than she did during the day. "Right on time, Mr. Hayes," she said, smiling and waving me over. "A man who isn't enthusiastic about free food has serious issues," I said, walking over and trying my best to look natural. "So, which taqueria is so honored as to receive the patronage of Director Davis?" "Oh, stop it with the director's stuff," she said, rolling her eyes, but it had no bite. It was almost playful. "Just follow me. I guarantee you'll be back for seconds." We walked side by side toward the food truck parked behind our office building. The evening air had a slight chill, and as it drifted past her, it carried the faint, clean scent of our laundry detergent. Gardenias, I think it was nice. The walk was a little awkward, mostly because I had no idea what to say. I can make small talk in the office, but this was suddenly a two-person, off-the-clock activity, and my social skills were lagging. Luckily, Chloe was a talker. She chatted on about a Netflix show she was binging, complained about a nightmare client, and griped about how the light rail was always packed like a can of sardines. I was mostly in charge of nodding and making agreeable noises. "Oh yeah, totally." "Oh, by the way," she said, suddenly remembering something. She turned her head, her eyes sparkling as she looked at me. "Do you have to be anywhere right after we eat?" My stomach did a little flip. Was this it, the main event? "Nope, just gonna go home and game." "Why?" "Well," she looked a little excited, a little secretive, and lowered her voice. "You want to come over to my place for a bit?" I almost choked on my own spit. Cool, mate. Come over to her place. Was this relationship moving at the speed of a bullet train? Were the tacos just the appetizer? Was the main course at her apartment? My face must have betrayed my thoughts because Chloe stared at me for a second, then burst out laughing, her cheeks turning a little pink. Get your mind out of the gutter. She gave my arm a light shove. It's my cat. I just got a kitten, and he's hilarious. He could do a backflip. Seriously, like a standing backflip. I wanted to show him off. Oh, so that was it. A cat that does backflips. A wave of relief washed over me, immediately followed by a surprising massive wave of disappointment. Get a grip, Ethan. What were you expecting? But then my curiosity took over. A cat does backflips? I gave her my best. You gotta be kidding me, look. For real? I've seen cats do parkour, but I've never seen one do gymnastics. Cross my heart, Chloe said, dead serious. That little guy is a prodigy. He's the Simone Biles of cats. You'll see. It'll blow your mind. When she talked about her cat, her eyes shone even brighter than when she was talking about tacos. I grinned. All right, for the Simone Biles of cats, I have to see this performance. But if you're lying, you're buying me tacos for a month. Deal, she said, her smile wide and genuine. I promise it'll be worth the price of admission. The taco spot was, in fact, killer. The carnitas were juicy. The salsa was fresh. We each held a tray loaded with tacos, eating until our noses were running from hot sauce. The atmosphere was much more relaxed now, with a conversation centered around her supposedly acrobatic cat. She named him Nugget because when she found him, he was just a tiny, scrawny thing huddled in a discarded Amazon box, and he looked like a perfect little golden nugget. She hoped the name would bring him a future of full meals and warm naps. Nugget, I said, chewing on a piece of grilled steak. Good name. How old is he? About 3 or 4 months, I think. He's a terror. Climbs everything, Chloe complained, but her expression was pure adoration. When we finished, my whole body felt warm. I rushed to pay the bill. I was fine with the girl buying me tacos, but going over to her place after felt like something I should pay for. Chloe didn't argue much, just smiled and said, All right, you got this one. I'll get the next one. A next one? My heart did another little flutter. Chloe's apartment wasn't far from the office. It was in a nice complex of one-bedroom units, clean and tidy, with that specific cozy feeling a girl's place has. The moment she opened the door, a faint peachy scent from an essential oil diffuser hit me. Nugget, Mama's home, and I brought a goofy friend to meet you, Chloe called out as she kicked off her shoes. The words were barely out of her mouth when a flash of orange shot out from the living room. It landed gracefully, sat down in the entryway, and tilted its head. A pair of big blue eyes studied me with intense curiosity. It was a little orange tabby. His face was still kitten round, but you could already see the potential for magnificent fluffy cheeks. He was adorable. This is Nugget. I crouched down, slowly extending my fingers to him. Nugget took a cautious step back, sniffed my hand, and then, apparently deciding I wasn't a threat, rubbed his head against my fingertips. So soft. He's pretty friendly, I said, pleasantly surprised. Oh, he's a total ham, Chloe said, dropping her bag and coming over. Okay, watch this. I'm about to show you his signature move. She walked to the middle of the living room and clapped her hands to get Nugget's attention. Then she took a tube of cat treat paste from a jar on the coffee table and waved it in front of him. Nugget immediately let out a loud meow, his tail shooting straight up like an antenna, and trotted over. Ready, Nugget? Chloe held the treat a little higher. I watched as Nugget backed up a few steps, his round eyes locked on the tube, his butt wiggled, and the tip of his tail twitched rapidly. The stance did look a bit like an athlete's right before a race. Then he launched himself forward with a powerful push from his hind legs. It wasn't a backflip. He just jumped straight up, trying to swat the tree out of Chloe's hand, but he jumped with so much force that he lost his balance on the landing, and his chubby little body just tumbled. He rolled backward like a furry little ball. He landed on his back, for paws in the air, exposing a soft white belly. He seemed confused for a second, then quickly righted himself, shook his head, and went right back to meowing for the treat. Chloe me. The air went still. A few seconds later, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I howled, tears welling up in my eyes. That's the Simone Biles of cats. The standing backflip. I laughed so hard my stomach hurt. That was clearly a failed pounce. Chloe's face turned bright red, a mix of embarrassment and wanting to laugh herself. She gave the treat to the impatient Nugget and stomped her foot. Hey, he usually does it. I swear he's just having an off day. Your bad luck made him nervous. Nugget, for his part, couldn't care less about an off day. He was happily munching on his treat, completely oblivious to the fact that his mother's credibility was in tatters. It took me a while to calm down, looking at Chloe's flustered, adorable expression. Something in my chest suddenly felt incredibly soft. Okay, it was an off day, I said, trying to suppress another laugh. Our boy Nugget just wasn't feeling it today. He'll get it next time. Chloe shot me a playful glare, but she couldn't help but smile. Whatever. His reputation is ruined. You want some water, goofball? Yes, please, I said, smiling back. She turned and went to the kitchen to give me a glass. I looked at Nugget, still wrestling with his treat on the floor, and then at Chloe's back as she moved around the kitchen. The apartment was filled with a faint scent of peaches and that unique, comforting smell of a home with a cat. Outside, the sky had gone completely dark, and a muffled sound of traffic drifted up from the street below. This ordinary Thursday night, because of a plate of tacos and a cat who failed at doing a backflip, suddenly felt different. The world outside of my code, it turned out, was pretty interesting. A thought quietly surfaced in my mind. It didn't matter one bit whether that cat could do a backflip or not. Ever since I witnessed Nugget's exclusive acrobatic performance, my relationship with Chloe had, for some inexplicable reason, taken a huge leap forward. At the office, she'd wink at me when handing over files, mouthing the words backflip. If we ran into each other at lunch, she'd naturally sit down next to me and slide the carrots she didn't like onto my plate. When did I become her human garbage disposal? If neither of us had to work late, we'd sometimes walk to the light rail station together. Our conversations expanded from purely work-related topics to how Nugget had destroyed another roll of toilet paper, which knew Bobo was worth trying, and occasionally funny stories from our pasts. Dave kept giving us that sleazy look of his, the one that screamed, "You two are definitely hooking up on the down low." I just stared back with a look that said, "It's a pure platonic friendship." But in my heart, a not-so-platonic little flame was starting to flicker. This girl, Chloe, she was just my type. Easy on the eyes, cheerful, a little bit clumsy, and most importantly, she loved animals, even if she exaggerated their talents. But I was a coward. What if she really just saw me as a goofy friend? What if she was new to the city and just looking for someone to eat with and a new plaything for her cat? While I was busy directing this drama in my own head, something seemed to be wrong with Chloe. For several days in a row, she was listless. She seemed tired at work, didn't laugh as much, and at lunch, she just stared at her phone by herself. A couple of times, her eyes looked red. My gut clenched. Something was off. Very off. That afternoon, I couldn't stand it anymore. On my way to the break room for coffee, I leaned over her cubicle wall and whispered, "What's up with you? Did Nugget steal your soul?" Chloe looked up, and sure enough, her eyes were a little swollen. She looked at me, her lip trembling slightly. She looked miserable. "It's nothing," she mumbled. "You don't look like nothing," I said, leaning against the partition. "Talk to me. Who pissed you off? I'll vend you some comfort money." That got a little laugh out of her, but the smile vanished quickly. Her finger traced patterns on her phone screen. After a moment of silence, she said quietly, "I got my heart broken." Heartbroken? My own heart sank. When was she even in a relationship? How'd I not know? Was I just making all of this up in my head? But that was immediately followed by a spark of joy. Heartbroken. So, she's single now. Is this my chance? No. That's taking advantage. My facial expression must have been a train wreck. Chloe didn't look at me, just kept talking. Well, it wasn't a real relationship. It was this guy from college I've had a crush on for years. He made it official with his new girlfriend on Instagram today. Oh, so it was an unrequited crush that never went anywhere. The huge boulder in my chest dropped with a thud, nearly crushing my toes. That's it. I breathed a sigh of relief, my tone lightening. I thought it was something serious. He's just a guy. Plenty of fish in the sea. Look around you. There are tons of great guys out there like me. I didn't dare say the last part out loud. Chloe shot me a wounded look. Easy for you to say. I like him for years since college. She started rambling on about how great this guy was, how talented, how handsome he was when he played basketball, how he was always just out of reach, which made her want more. I listened, a sour taste in my mouth, but I couldn't let it show. I just nodded along, occasionally interjecting with a supportive, "What a jerk," or "Wow, he has terrible taste." I was her emotional dumping ground. By the end of it, her eyes were red again. I just feel so awful. My chest feels so empty. Seeing her like that made me feel helpless. I'm terrible with crying girls. Hey, don't cry, I said quickly, grabbing some tissues for her. Wasting your tears on some guy you can't even see or touch. What a waste. Nugget would laugh at you if he knew. She took the tissues, blew her nose, and asked in a stuffy voice, "So what am I supposed to do?" "It still hurts." I scratched my head, and an idea struck me. "Okay, don't go home after work. I'm taking you out for some heartbreak therapy." Chloe looked at me through her teary eyes. "What kind of therapy? If one meal doesn't fix it, two will," I said, puffing out my chest. "All the spicy crawfish you can eat, plus a large bubble tea with extra sugar. A full-on calorie and salt guarantee to cure any sadness." She finally cracked a smile, though a bit wobbly. "All you think about is food. Food heals all wounds." Seeing her smile made me feel lighter. "Besides, doesn't your son, Nugget, miss his goofy uncle? I can also serve as free labor. Fix your leaky faucet. Unclog your toilet. Whatever." My own faucet also needed fixing, but I kept that to myself. My can-do attitude made her laugh for real. All right. Since you're being so sincere, but I don't feel like crawfish today. Then what do you want? Name it. It's on me tonight. I want pizza. The greasy kind with extra pepperoni," she declared as if she wanted to devour her sorrow along with the spicy oil. "Done. Pizza it is. We'll eat until we cry from the heartburn." After work, we went straight to the best pizza joint near the office. Chloe channeled her grief into her appetite. She demolished slice after slice of the pepperoni-laden pizza, sweating and panting from the sheer volume, all while listing the crimes of her blind-as-a-bat college crush. "You said that girl looks like Emma Stone." "Where?" "She looks more like Steve Buscemi." I nearly spit out my Coke. Cough. "That's just mean to Steve Buscemi." "It's true." Chloe fumed, tearing off another bite. "She's not even as pretty as me." I agree with that. I immediately raised my hand in support. "Definitely not as pretty as you. The guy must have severe astigmatism." My comment made her giggle. After half a pizza and a giant iced tea, Chloe's mood had noticeably improved. Her cheeks were flushed, either from the spice or the heat. "Much better," she said with a long sigh, leaning back in her seat. "Food really is the best heartbreak support crew." "Absolutely," I agreed. "We should do this more often." When the check came, I grabbed it. Chloe looked a little embarrassed. "I thought I was supposed to treat you." "It's against the rules to make the heartbroken person pay," I said with a wave of my hand. "You can get me back next time you get paid." "It's a deal," she said with a smile. Back at Chloe's place, Nugget, as usual, came running to the door. He caught a whiff of pizza on us and started sniffing furiously, his little nose twitching. No, this is too greasy for you," Chloe said, scooping him up and booping his nose. Nugget let out an indignant meow. Chloe held the cat and flopped onto the sofa, sighing. I ate a ton, but I still feel a little empty inside. I was racking my brain for another way to cheer her up when inspiration struck. "Wait right here." I pulled out my phone and started scrolling. I knew I'd saved some ridiculously stupid pet videos. "Found it." I held the phone out to her. "Let me show you a real backflipping cat. Your boy Nugget needs to take notes." In a video, a Siamese cat was doing a series of consecutive backflips on a sofa, its movements as smooth as an Olympic gymnast. Chloe stared, her jaw slack, then looked at the tumbling ball of fur in her arms and burst out laughing. "Haha, Nugget, look at that. What you do is more like wrestling." Nugget meowed. "What's it got to do with me?" I found a few more videos. Dogs diving into mud puddles, parrots cursing, a hamster getting stuck in its wheel. Chloe was laughing so hard tears were streaming down her face. The college crush completely forgotten. Oh my God, stop. Huh? My stomach hurts. She wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. These little guys are too much. Seeing her so happy made me feel good, better than if I just watched the videos myself. When she finally caught her breath, she put my phone down and looked at Nugget, who was now playing with a feather wand. Ethan, she said softly. Thank you for what? It was just a few videos, I said, trying to act casual. Not just the videos. She shook her head. Thank you for eating with me, for listening to me ramble, and for trying so hard to make me laugh. She looked at me, her eyes bright, the earlier sadness completely gone. I feel like it doesn't hurt so much anymore. I scratched my nose, a little embarrassed. That's what friends are for. Yeah, she said, nodding emphatically, her smile brilliant again. Good friends. Good friends. All right, I can work with that. Good friends was a start. At least the support crew had been officially established. Ever since I became the self-appointed chairman of Chloe's Heartbreak support crew, I felt like our platonic friendship had been elevated to a whole new level. She seemed to have genuinely moved on from her one-sided crush and was back to her usual energetic self, and she seemed to be relying on me a little more. She started bringing me cookies she'd baked in the morning. They were a little less burnt now. In the afternoon, she'd ask if I wanted a coffee when she was making a run. At night, we'd text until we both said goodnight. The look Dave gave me had upgraded from something's going on to those two are definitely hooking up. I was ecstatic. I felt like my promotion from friend was just around the corner until the new intern showed up. His name was Caleb, a junior in college. Clean-cut, tall, and assigned to our project team, which meant Chloe and I were in charge of him. The kid was a smooth talker, calling every guy man and every woman by their first name with a charming smile. He was especially attentive to Chloe. Chloe, could you show me how to use this design software again? Chloe, do you need a water refill? I can get it. Chloe, what perfume is that? It smells amazing. He was always orbiting her desk, his tone familiar and warm, and Chloe seemed to enjoy it. She was always patiently teaching him things, smiling and joking with him. My insides started to feel like they were pickling in a giant vat of vinegar. Are you serious, Chloe? Just a few weeks ago, you were crying over some college guy, and now you're flirting with a kid. Women, an absolute mystery. The worst part was this kid, Caleb, was clearly interested in Chloe. The way he looked at her was so syrupy, you could pour it on pancakes. My status as a good friend was suddenly facing an unprecedented crisis. I had to do something. I had to assert my dominance. Even though I had no idea if I even had any dominance to assert, an opportunity arose quickly. On Friday, Caleb was leaning over Chloe's desk again, laptop in hand. Chloe, I just can't get this part right. Can you explain one more time? I'll buy you dinner tonight to thank you. Dinner again? Am I invisible? I immediately stood up, grabbed my water bottle, and strolled over, pretending I was also on my way to the cooler. Hey, Caleb, getting some help? I said, casually clapping him on the shoulder. You know, if you have questions, you can always ask me. Your pal Ethan is a veteran coder, you know? Caleb looked at me, then smiled. Thanks, Ethan, but this is a design software thing. You're a code guy. You probably wouldn't know. Ouch. This little punk talking back. It's all connected. I blustered, squeezing in next to Chloe, almost touching her and pointing at her screen. This part here, it's actually simple. It's just that one thing. I hadn't actually seen what the problem was. Chloe gave me a weird look and shifted away slightly. Why are you so close? It's hot. She turned back to Caleb. Don't listen to him. He's just pretending. Here, I'll show you. I was left standing there, so embarrassed. My toes were trying to dig through my shoes. Caleb shot me a look of subtle triumph. You little. Round one, a complete failure. I slunk back to my desk, fuming. The rest of the day, I was in a foul mood, watching Chloe and Caleb laughing together. That vinegar vat in my stomach started fermenting into pure acid. At the end of the day, Chloe was packing up and asked casually, Hey, Ethan, what are you doing for dinner? Not hungry. I'm full of rage, I grumbled. Chloe paused, then walked over and tilted her head, studying me. What's wrong with you? Who set you off? Another bug in your code? Yeah, a bug. A big one, I said sullenly. She blinked, and then a slow smile spread across her face. She leaned in closer and whispered, Hey, are you jealous? I jumped like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Me? Jealous of who? Don't be ridiculous. I'm Ethan Hayes, a grown man. You think I'd be jealous over something so petty? My voice was a little too loud, reeking of insecurity. Chloe didn't say anything, just crossed her arms and watched me with an amused smile as if she could see right through me. Her stare made my face feel hot. All right, she finally said, taking pity on me. Come with me to get a cake. I'm craving a slice of that mango crate cake from the bakery downstairs. Not going? Not in the mood, I said, still trying to play it cool. You sure? She raised an eyebrow. Okay, I'll go by myself. Maybe I'll ask Caleb if he wants to come. I think he lives nearby. Wait. I shot up from my chair. I'll go. I've been dying for some mango crate cake. Chloe burst out laughing, her eyes curving in a crescent. You're ridiculous. On the way, I was still sulking a little. Chloe bumped me with her shoulder. Hey, are you really mad? No, I said stubbornly. Caleb's just a kid. I'm not into the whole cradle robbing thing, she said suddenly, her voice soft. I stopped walking and looked at her. She was looking straight ahead, but the corners of her mouth were turned up in a slight smile. The dark cloud in my head was instantly blown away by that one sentence. The sun was shining. The birds were singing. Exactly. He's just a kid, I immediately agreed. He doesn't have the sophisticated charm of a mature man like myself. Oh, please. Give you an inch and you take a mile, Chloe laughed. Hurry up. The bakery's about to close. We bought the cake, and Chloe said, let's eat at my place. I think Nugget's got an upset stomach. I want to keep an eye on him. Yes, ma'am. My mood was soaring. I carried the cake and followed her like an obedient puppy. At her apartment, Nugget was indeed a bit listless, not his usual bouncy self. Chloe seemed worried, checking his litter box and giving him a once-over. It's probably nothing serious. Maybe he just ate too much, I reassured her. Let's just watch him. We put the cake on the coffee table, and Chloe cut 2 huge slices. She took a bite and closed her eyes in bliss. I'm alive again. Dessert is the cure for everything. Watching her simple satisfaction, I thought she was ridiculously cute. Hey, Ethan, she said suddenly. Why don't you like Caleb? He's a hard worker. Him again. The vinegar started bubbling up again. I just don't like his vibe, I said, chewing on my fork. You can tell he's got an agenda. What kind of agenda? Chloe asked, playing dumb. An agenda with you? I blurted out, looking straight at her. He wants to ask you out. Can't you see that? Chloe looked at me, her eyes shining, and she suddenly smiled. So, you really are jealous. The cat was out of the bag. It was too late to deny it. I took a deep breath, put down my cake, and sat up straight. Yes, I am. I'm jealous. I don't like seeing him buzz around you. I don't like it when you smile at him. So yeah, I'm petty. What are you going to do about it? The words rushed out. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I didn't dare look at her. It's over. I was too aggressive. She's going to friend-zone me for life. We can't even be friends now. The room was silent for a few seconds, except for the sound of Nugget scratching his post. Those few seconds felt like an eternity. Then I heard Chloe's soft laugh. You're such a dork, she said. I looked up. She was resting her chin on her hand, smiling at me, her cheeks a little flushed. You just now figuring that out? I mumbled, my stomach in knots. But she paused, her voice getting even softer, like a feather brushing against my heart. It's also kind of cute. Cute. She thought I was cute. Before I could process it, she quickly looked down and stuffed a huge bite of cake in her mouth. Hurry up and eat, she said, her voice muffled. It's going to melt. I looked at the tips of her ears, which were bright red. The huge boulder in my chest finally settled, and a little flower bloomed in its place. The mango crepe cake was so sweet, sweeter than it had ever been before. After the mango crepe cake confession, the air between Chloe and me became charged. Nothing was official, but it felt like we both knew. That hazy, unspoken understanding was driving me crazy. She still brought me cookies. Her skills had improved. They were less burnt, but I noticed my portion always seemed to have a few extra chocolate chips. She still asked if I wanted a coffee, but sometimes she'd just take my mug and bring it back filled exactly how I like it. These little details were like powdered sugar dusting my days with a sweetness that made me want to smile constantly. Caleb seemed to have picked up on a vibe, too. He wasn't hovering around Chloe's desk anymore. If he saw us talking, he'd just quietly walk away. Good. He knew his place. My territorial claim seemed to be working. Just when I thought victory was at hand and I was planning the right time and place to cross the friend line, disaster struck. That Saturday, Chloe texted that she was doing a massive deep clean of her apartment, and her back was killing her. My hero's senses tingled. This was my chance to shine. I immediately volunteered. I'm on my way. Professional cleaning services at your disposal. Payment accepted in the form of one home-cooked meal. She laughed on the phone. Okay, come on over. I think Nugget misses his goofy uncle. Anyway, I got to her place in record time and rolled up my sleeves. I mopped, washed windows, and degreased the kitchen. I worked my butt off, determined to make her floor sparkle. Chloe was sorting through clothes and changing Nugget's litter box nearby. We chatted as we worked, and it felt very domestic, like a couple settling in. I was feeling pretty pleased with myself and worked even harder. But pride comes before a fall. The fall in this case was a cloud of dust. When I climbed up on a chair to clean the dust off the top of her closet, the accident happened. There was a bunch of stuff up there, a few old boxes. I stood on my toes and pushed one of the boxes to make some room. The box didn't budge, but from behind it, I dislodged a giant, thick, multicolored clump of dust. It was a genuine clump. Years of accumulated grime exploded like a fluffy gray bomb, raining down and completely engulfing me. What the? I yelled, instantly blinded and choked by the musty smell. Achoo! 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 I let out a dozen world-shaking sneezes, tears, and snot streaming down my face as I stumbled off the chair. Chloe came running at the sound. She saw me, froze in shock, and then clapped a hand over her mouth, her shoulders shaking violently. Haha, Ethan, did you just go for a swim in a dust bunny? I just stood there, covered head to toe in gray. My hair was gray, my eyebrows were white. I looked like a newly excavated fossil. I tried to maintain some dignity, but the moment I opened my mouth, another, it is chew, escaped. That's when Chloe completely lost it. She collapsed onto the floor, howling with laughter and pounding the ground. Oh my God, I can't. Haha, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Haha, Nugget was freaked out by the commotion and was watching me, this new gray monster, from a safe distance. I was on the verge of tears. So much for playing the hero. I was the court jester. My image was shattered. It took Chloe a long time to stop laughing. She finally picked herself up, wiping tears from her eyes as she pushed me toward the bathroom. Go, wash up quick. Ha, I'm sorry. I just can't stop. Ha, I shuffled into the bathroom, a ghost of my former self, and looked in the mirror. The pathetic sight staring back at me was so ridiculous that I started to laugh, too. This was a new low. I stripped off my filthy clothes and turned on the shower. The hot water felt amazing. Halfway through, I realized I had a serious problem. I hadn't brought a change of clothes in with me. My own clothes were a biohazard. This was awkward. I turned off the water, wrapped a towel around my waist, and contemplated my options. Was I supposed to walk out in a towel? That felt a little forward, although a small part of me was intrigued by the idea, but it might seem sleazy. After a long hesitation, I cracked open the bathroom door. Chloe, I whispered. She was cleaning the floor outside. Yeah, all done. I didn't grab my clothes, I stammered. Could you maybe find a big t-shirt of yours or something, just so I'm not, you know? Silence for a few seconds. I thought I heard another stifled giggle. Hang on. A moment later, footsteps approached, and a white t-shirt was passed through the crack in the door. This is my biggest one. It should fit, she said, her voice laced with amusement. As for pants, you're on your own. You'll have to make do. Thanks, I said, grabbing it. I pulled on her shirt. It was, as expected, a woman's shirt. It was tight, hugging my chest and arms. The sleeves were too short, and the hem barely reached my waist, exposing a strip of my stomach. As for pants, the towel would have to do. I took a deep breath, mentally prepared myself, and opened the door. Chloe had her back to me, cleaning up the dust. She turned around when she heard me. She saw my outfit, and her eyes went wide. And then, PFA. She laughed even harder than before, falling back onto the sofa and rolling around. Ethan, you look like a bear stuffed into a doll's t-shirt. Ha! And your stomach is showing. Ha! My face was hot enough to fry an egg. I instinctively tried to pull the shirt down, which only made the collar stretch wider, looking even more ridiculous. Stop laughing. I pretended to be angry. If you don't stop, I'll go get Dusty again. Chloe tried to hold it in, but one look at my awkward pose, and she cracked up again. After a long while, she finally sat up, catching her breath, her eyes sparkling. Okay, I'll stop. Actually, it's kind of cute. Cute? Again? Was there no saving my tough guy image today? She pulled out her phone and aimed it at me. Don't move. I have to document this precious moment. Hey, no pictures. I lunged to cover the lens. She dodged, laughing, and managed to snap a few photos. We wrestled for a minute before I finally got the phone and threatened to delete them. She surrendered, promising not to post them anywhere. When the chaos subsided, we sat side by side on the sofa, breathing heavily. I was in a towel and a tiny t-shirt, a monument to awkwardness. She looked at me and said quietly, thank you, Ethan. For what? For putting on a dust show for you. I grumbled. For coming over to help me today, she said softly, even if the ending was a little unexpected. But really, thank you. Her sincere tone made me feel a little embarrassed. It was nothing, I said, scratching my head, which was still damp. She hesitated, twisting the hem of her shirt, her voice even quieter. You actually looked kind of hot just now. I whipped my head around to look at her. Her face was red, and she was avoiding my eyes. A giant firework exploded in my chest. She thought I was hot. Even in my most pathetic state, this had to be true love. I suddenly felt invincible. My back didn't hurt. My legs weren't tired. I could clean 10 more closets. Really? I leaned in a little closer, looking at her flushed face. Yeah. Her voice was as faint as a mosquito's buzz. Just really masculine. The way you were working. Her compliments were a little clumsy, but to me, they sounded like a symphony. I looked at her face, so close to mine, and my courage suddenly inflated. Chloe, I said. Yeah. She looked up, her eyes wide and glistening. I took a deep breath. I really like you. The words were out. I watched her, my heart about to leap out of my throat. Chloe froze, her eyes widening. The color in her cheeks deepened to the shade of a ripe tomato. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. The room was completely silent except for the sound of our breathing and Nugget batting a ball around. A few seconds later, she ducked her head, burying her face in her hands and letting out a small, embarrassed whimper. What? Why would you say that now? In this ridiculous situation of all times. I looked at the tips of her ears, bright red, and my heart melted. I just had to say it, I said with a smile, before some other college guy or intern showed up. She peeked at me, through her fingers, then quickly looked away again. And then I heard her say in the quietest voice, "What did you mean? Was that a yes or just an acknowledgement?" I was getting desperate. It could mean anything. Chloe, please give me a straight answer here. I'm dying. Chloe lowered her hands. Her face was still flushed. She glanced at me, then looked down, but she couldn't hide the smile spreading across her face. Dork, she whispered. I like you too. Boom. A million fireworks went off in my brain. Dazzling. Spectacular. She liked me. She actually liked me. A tidal wave of joy washed over me. I almost jumped off the sofa. Yes. I couldn't help but pump my fist. My reaction made Chloe laugh. Keep it down. You'll scare Nugget. I grabbed her hand and held it tight, grinning like an idiot. He won't be scared. Nugget is happy for his mom and dad. Who's your mom and dad? Chloe mumbled, her face still red, but she didn't pull her hand away. Her hand was soft and a little cool. I held it in mine, warming it up. We just sat there smiling at each other like fools. The air was sweet, sweeter than any mango crepe cake. I was wearing a towel and a woman's t-shirt. My hair was still dripping, and I looked like a complete disaster. But in that moment, I felt like the most handsome man in the world because I had a girlfriend. Chloe was mine. I had a girlfriend. Me, Ethan Hayes, single since birth, had finally made it. And my girlfriend was Chloe, the beautiful, cute, talented designer who also owned a sometimes backflipping cat. I felt like I was walking on air. Even lines of code looked artistic to me now. Dave was the first to notice. Dude, did you win a lottery? You're grinning so hard I can see your teeth. I threw an arm around his shoulder, leaned in, and said with unconcealed pride, better than the lottery. I'm officially off the market. No way. They were shocked. For real? Who is she? Which poor blind girl took pity on you? Wait, it's not Chloe, is it? You guessed it, I said, my ego swelling. Get out of here, man. Dave punched my arm. You dark horse. When did this happen? How'd you do it? Spill the details. You know, I said, trying to sound mysterious. Pure, unadulterated charm. In reality, it was dust in a woman's t-shirt, but he didn't need to know that. Our first official date was set for that weekend. We were both taking it very seriously. 3 days beforehand, I started planning my outfit, pulling out all my best clothes and trying on different combinations. I secretly Googled tips on how to be the perfect boyfriend. Chloe was just as nervous. She kept texting me. Should I wear a dress? That new restaurant is supposed to be impossible to get into. Do you want to see that new movie? The air was thick with anticipation. On the day of the date, I was up early. I showered, styled my hair, used a little of my expensive cologne, and put on what I decided was my most handsome outfit. I arrived at our meeting spot half an hour early. Chloe was right on time. She was wearing a pale yellow dress that made her skin glow. Her hair was softly curled, and she had on a little makeup. She was so beautiful I couldn't look away. We both looked at each other a little shy and then broke into silly grins. You look handsome today, Chloe said quietly. You're even more beautiful, I said, and I meant it. With the mutual compliments out of the way, things felt a little less awkward. First, we went to a movie, a horror movie. Don't ask me why. The internet said it was a good way to get closer. The movie had barely started when I regretted my decision. Chloe was a little braver than I had anticipated. Every time there was a scary part, I was planning to pretend to be scared and casually put my arm around her for comfort, but she always beat me to it, grabbing my arm in excitement and whispering, wow, the makeup on that ghost is amazing. Or, oh, look, that guy's about to die. Me. Okay, boyfriend plan number 1 failed. After the movie, we went to that trendy, hard-to-get-into restaurant. The food was great. The ambience was nice. I remember my online tutorials. Be thoughtful, be attentive. I pulled out her chair, poured her water, served her food. Chloe watched me with an amused smile. All right, stop fussing and eat your own food. It is my honor to serve you, I said, feigning a gentlemanly air. As we were finishing up, I remembered another tip. Pay the bill proactively to show responsibility and financial stability. I subtly motioned for the waiter. Check, please. The waiter came over and smiled. Sir, the lady has already taken care of it. Me? I stare at Chloe. She was touching up her lipstick in a compact mirror. She winked at me. I told you I get the next one. You forgot the rules of the Heartbreak support crew. Me? Boyfriend plan number 2. Failed. After dinner, we went for a walk along the river. The evening breeze was nice. There were couples all around us. The mood was perfect. I thought maybe it's time to hold her hand. The internet said a good time is when you're crossing the street. It's a natural gesture, and she's unlikely to refuse. I waited anxiously for a red light. Finally, we came to an intersection, and the light turned red. This was it. I took a deep breath, gathered my courage, and casually reached for Chloe's hand. But at that exact moment, Chloe decided to shift her purse, and her hand moved up. My hand swiped through empty air, my fingers awkwardly brushing the back of her hand. The world went silent. Me, Chloe. She looked at me, confused. What are you doing? Thinking fast. My hand continued its trajectory, and I pointed across the street. Look, a balloon. It's flying really high. Chloe looked up. Where? It flew away, I said lamely, pulling my hand back, wishing the ground would swallow me whole. Why was holding a hand so difficult? Boyfriend plan number 3. On the verge of failure, I was starting to feel dejected. This date was not going as planned. Was I doing it all wrong? Chloe seemed to notice my mood. She bumped my shoulder with hers. Hey, what's wrong? You seem distracted. It's nothing, I said, deflated. Are you tired? She asked with concern. We can find somewhere to sit. We found a bench and sat down. I stared at the boats on the water and sighed. What's with the sigh? Chloe asked, tilting her head. I just feel like I kind of failed today, I mumbled. Failed? How? She asked, confused. The movie was good. The food was great. And this walk is nice. Not that stuff? I scratched my head, embarrassed. It's just the articles I read said a date should be… Never mind. Chloe blinked, and then understanding dawned on her. She covered her mouth and laughed. Did you secretly read some BuzzFeed article on how to have the perfect date? Busted. My face flushed. Oh, Ethan, why would you read that stuff? She couldn't stop laughing. Every girl is different. I think you were great today. A little dorky, but great. Really? I looked at her. Really? She said, nodding emphatically, her eyes shining. You're real and you're cute. It's much better than some slick guy who has all the lines memorized. She paused, her voice softening. Besides, I like you, the person. I don't like some playbook of moves. Her words were like a warm current, washing away all my frustration. She liked dorky me. She should have said so. I could have just been myself. I didn't need to study any stupid articles. I felt alive again. Well, if you don't like the playbook, how about this? My courage returned. I reached out again, this time with a clear target, and took her hand as it rested on her lap. Her hand flinched slightly, but she didn't pull away. Her fingers were a little cold. I gently closed my hand around hers, enveloping it. Chloe blushed and looked down, but her lips curved into a smile. This is okay, she whispered, her fingers gently squeezing mine back. We sat like that, holding hands on the bench by the river, watching the city lights shimmer on the water like scattered stars. Neither of us spoke, but felt better than all the talking we'd done earlier. My heart felt full and sweet. So, this was what a real date was like. You didn't need a playbook. As long as you were with the right person, even just sitting in silence was perfect. After a while, Chloe said she was thirsty. You wait here. I'll go get us something, I said, jumping up. Another chance to shine. I had to get this right. I ran to a nearby convenience store and bought 2 bottles of water. Then I spotted strawberry ice cream bars in the freezer. I remembered she mentioned liking them, so I grabbed one of those too. As I was paying, I saw a display of little boxes by the register, M&Ms. On an impulse, I bought a box. I went back to the bench and handed her a water, then produced the ice cream and candy like a magician. Ta-da, your reward, I said, giving her the ice cream. Wow, strawberry, she said, her face lighting up. How did you know I wanted this? I'm psychic, I said with a smug grin. She then saw the M&Ms and picked them up, a playful look in her eyes. And snacks. You're on a roll today, Ethan. I blushed. They, helped me meet the credit card minimum. She opened the box, popped one in my mouth, and then had one herself. Sweet, she asked. Sweet, I said, looking at her and nodding. Not as sweet as you. We shared the ice cream and the candy. Our fingers brushed, both cool and sticky. It was getting late, so I walked her home, standing outside her building. Neither of us wanted to say goodbye. Well, I should go up, Chloe said, looking at me. Yeah, I nodded. Our hands were still linked. I had a really good time today, she said softly. Me too, I said, looking at her. The glow from the street lights made her face look so soft. She suddenly stood on her tiptoes and gave me a quick kiss on the cheek. It was soft, cool, and tasted like strawberry ice cream. I froze, my brain short-circuiting as if I'd been hit by a stun gun. By the time I came to my senses, she had already run into the building, her face bright red, leaving behind only a quick, "Text me when you get home." I stood there holding the cheek she'd kissed, grinning like an idiot for a full 5 minutes. The security guard started giving me suspicious looks. The first date turned out pretty well, I guess. A little clumsy, but the ending was better than I could have imagined. My boyfriend skills, it turned out, were best when I was just being myself. After Chloe, and I made it official, my life changed completely. Before, coming home from work meant a cold apartment and a video game console. Now, coming home from work meant, well, still a video game console, but also a girlfriend who required video call check-ins and a long-distance cat I had to look after. That's right. Nugget was now officially my stepson. As Chloe put it, you're his dad now. You're responsible for his cat food fund. Me. Yes, dear. This was usually followed by a playful punch from Chloe. Being a dad wasn't easy. That little brat Nugget seemed to have some issues with his new stepfather. Whenever I went over to Chloe's place, he would initially ignore me or perch on the highest level of his cat tree, staring down at me with his blue eyes as if to say, "Is this two-legged creature trying to steal my mother?" I had to pull out all the stops to win him over. Treats, wet food, toys. After I presented my offerings, His Majesty would deign to come down for a sniff and occasionally allow me to pat his noble head. But the moment I showed Chloe any affection, put an arm around her shoulder, or tried to steal a kiss, Nugget would materialize between us. He'd either turn his back to me or bat at my hand with his paw, making disgruntled little noises. He was like a jealous spouse, guarding his territory. Chloe always found this hilarious. "Look, Nugget's jealous. He thinks you're stealing his mom." I'd be exasperated. "Who's stealing who? He gets you all day. I have to get his permission just to hold your hand." And so began the long war between me and Nugget for Chloe's affection. I usually lost. He could meow pitifully, do his fake backflip, and rub his head on Chloe's hand. I could only rely on shamelessness and bribery to maintain my standing. Life went on in this sweet, chaotic way. Chloe and I grew closer. We did all the normal couple things. We'd go grocery shopping on weekends, cook dinner together. She cooked, I ate, did the dishes, and curled up on the sofa to watch trashy reality TV, fighting over the remote. She completely reformed my terrible fashion sense. My closet was no longer a sea of plaid shirts and graphic tees. And thanks to me, her video game skills improved dramatically. We could even team up to fight monsters now. We became more and more in sync. Sometimes all it took was a look to know what the other was thinking. Dave said the lovey-dovey stench coming off us was so strong it was killing all the plants within a 10-foot radius. I think he was just jealous. 1 year later, on a weekend afternoon, the sun was beautiful, streaming through the sliding glass door. Nugget was sprawled on the floor, sunbathing belly up. Chloe was curled up on the sofa, sketching on her tablet. I was sitting next to her, playing a game on my phone. It was a perfectly ordinary afternoon. I finished a round, put my phone down, and looked at her focused profile. A powerful feeling washed over me. This was it. This was her. I wanted to see this every day. I wanted to come home to her. I wanted to legally battle that little jealous cat for her attention. I wanted to spend every ordinary warm afternoon just like this with her. I quietly took a deep breath and pulled a small box out of my pocket. I had it for a while. I gently touched her arm. "Hey," she said, not looking up from her tablet. "One SEC, almost done." "Chloe," I said, my voice a little tight. She heard the change in my tone and looked up. She saw the box in my hand and froze, her eyes slowly widening. I opened the box. Inside was a simple diamond ring sparkling in the sunlight. I knelt on one knee in front of her, my palms sweating. What are you doing?" Chloe's face turned bright red. She was stammering, and the stylus fell from her hand onto the sofa. Nugget, startled by the movement, trotted over and started sniffing the box curiously. I looked into her eyes, trying to keep my voice steady. "Chloe, I know I'm a dork sometimes. I'm not romantic, and I get jealous of a cat, but I really love you so much. I love your smile. I love watching you work. I love the way you tease me. I even love your burnt cookies. I want to buy you mango crate cake every day for the rest of our lives. I want to clean the top of your closet for you, even if I mess it up again. I want to protect you with Nugget's help. I want to be with you forever. Will you marry me?" I asked, and then held my breath, my heart pounding like a drum. Chloe looked at me, her eyes welling up, but her lips were smiling. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked down at Nugget and asked in a shaky voice, "Nugget, do you agree?" Nugget replied, "Mara, what's it got to do with me? Also, can I have a treat?" She burst out laughing, but the tears started to fall. She held out her hand to me and nodded fiercely. "Yes, I will. You're such a dork." Overjoyed, I slipped the ring on her finger. It was a perfect fit. I stood up and pulled her into my arms, spinning her around. Chloe shrieked with laughter, her arms around my neck. Nugget meowed indignantly at our feet, demanding attention. We stopped spinning and looked at each other, laughing, our foreheads touching. I look forward to our future, Mr. Hayes, she whispered, her eyes shining like stars. Me too, Mrs. Hayes, I said, and kissed the tip of her nose. The sun shone warmly on us and on the cat, demanding a treat. It was ordinary, and it was perfect. This was the future I wanted. Her, the cat, and our home. Oh, and did Nugget ever learn how to do a real backflip? We think.